afternoon, everyone. Happy Thursday. I'm the Gray Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Thursday, September 14th, 2023. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? May I please have the first 5 cards in our 5-card spread. First card that we are starting our day off with today is the Hanged Man. This is not surprising to see given where we left things yesterday. As you may have seen, yesterday was marked by some hurdles and some difficulties and some setbacks, even within partnered energies. We saw there for masculine energy, we had a bit of a warning a couple days ago. You'll recall, masculine, bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what you feel most aligned to. You will recall that I warned some of the masculine energy to make sure that you are in alignment with the feminine in terms of a course of action. We did see here that there was some situation or circumstances rising up around the partnered energies in which masculine wanted to take a very direct approach. Feminine wanted to take more time to embody something. We saw some of those issues coming up yesterday in a recalibration point of the masculine energy, which, as I mentioned, could indicate the fact that for some of the masculines, this was something that you're coming into a point of reconsideration point in. For make some of these adjustments, to make some of these changes, to really have to assess what you may need to make accommodations for right now due to the fact that you found the masculine in this vibration. While for the masculine and feminine energy that are not in partnership at this time, this is feeling a lot of those communication blocks. Masculine energy's own confidence is flagging to some degree in some area now because we don't see feminine energy taking a lot of activity at this moment. But feminine is also maintaining a state of this energy here. Hangman. Not necessarily moving forward or moving backward, trying to stay in a perfect position to try to get the insights. The problem with this energy is it can feel difficult. These are insights that are being grasped right now through some difficulties or hurdles, but this is not an easy position to maintain. We're seeing this right now for all energies. It could be feeling like we saw a lot of bittersweet energy yesterday. Today is more about like that feeling of potential difficulty or anticipation. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now. Second card in our 5-card spread for today is the Knight of Swords. This may look familiar because we saw this card in yesterday's reading, but it was in its reversal. Masculine energy is regaining the confidence that they needed or were lacking yesterday. This could potentially be a moment that feels like a bit of release or reprieve potentially for masculine energy, bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what you feel most aligned to. This could be leading to an influx of activity today from the masculine, though there needs to be a bit of warning here for masculine energy that is feeling like this, because this could be coming through as a feeling of frustration, right? Because what we are identifying here is this is a moment for masculine that is uncomfortable to be in. And we also see that you're moving out of it very quickly, or you're feeling a lot of assertiveness from it. So masculine energy, I'd be very cautious right now, attend in terms of your approach. We saw you in this vibration just a couple days ago, and it actually led to some of the circumstances or situations that you were feeling some level or degree of uncertainty or regret on yesterday. We want to make sure that you're not vacillating back and forth right now between points of feeling that anxiety for something that you did and then potentially lashing back out as a result of the anxiety that you're feeling. So be a little cautious about this right now, masculine. For other masculine energy right now, this could be feeling like there are some situations and circumstances that you feel kind of tied up on, but you're not letting them effectively stop you today. Rather, you're looking for other points and other areas in your own life at this time that you can move forward with some of this activity. Masculine and feminine energy that is in partnership at this moment, this could potentially be feeling like there are some situations or circumstances that are feeling kind of open-ended. They're creating this sense of frustration for you at this time. Masculine could be really pushing forward right now, trying to drive through some goals, drive through some plannings around this area, potentially trying to take the lead in this. This is the same exact energy we saw the masculine in 2 days ago. So again, we have to be a little cautious here, masculine, that there isn't some kind of cycle repeating as it relates to something right now, because this could also be indicating masculine standing very firm in some areas. Feminine right now could potentially be feeling very frustrated, or even feeling like there's a moment right now, even in partnership, that is keeping them feeling a little unable to move in the way that you would ideally move or desire to right now. Because what we're really seeing right now for feminine energy are these are circumstances or situations where you feel like you're getting some level of degree of insight, but they're not easy spaces to maintain. This potentially could have a lot more to do with the fact that there was some level of mitigation that we saw was required yesterday in partnered energies, resulting in some of the actions of the masculine. So this could be some of the feminine energy still feeling a little bit of that blowback today, even in partnerships. While for feminine and masculine energy, they're not in partnership today. This is potentially the feminine energy holding and waiting to see if the masculine energy is going to come forward in the way that they would desire. Masculine, you are also feeling and experiencing this right now, and it's actually the fact that the frustration of doing nothing is potentially driving you into doing something today. Center card for today's spread for today is, wow, we've got 3 cards dropping out for our center card. And these are some massive cards to be our center card for today. What are we seeing here? We've got here our King of Pentacles in combination with our Ace of Wands, in combination with our 3 of Swords. This could be a day of restoration and healing. As we indicated, these are some beautiful cards that we're actually seeing today, because what have we been seeing in the cards over the last few days? We identified for partnered energies, masculine energy was coming into a space or place where they are potentially move forward on something in a way that feminine didn't ideally desire. Masculine may have had to recalibrate. Masculine energy is now effectively again back in that movement of moving forward again. But how is the masculine energy moving forward? They're trying to move forward from a space and place of healing. They're trying to do everything that's possible right now to affect that change of healing by creating as stable an environment as possible as they're trying to do so. This could even be for some of the masculine energy right now, feeling that you're effectively trying to defend some of the actions that led you up until this point, especially in some level or degree of partnership at this moment, to try to articulate that while there may be some situations and circumstances that have been causing some degree of difficulty for you right now, that your intentions had been sound, that your intentions were pure. And we're almost seeing here the masculine energy trying to put some level of degree into trying to show this in some way, shape, or form right now to help lend some stability to some circumstances or situations. Feminine energy that's in partnership with masculine right now. This could be the masculine effectively potentially saying or doing everything possible right now to heal any sense of conflict that their own actions may have created or caused for the feminine at this time. But what's interesting about this isn't necessarily the masculine energy recalibrating what they were doing. They're kind of standing firm to a certain extent. It's more them just trying to do everything they can to mitigate the situations or circumstances that are created in the wake of it. While for masculine and feminine energy that is not in union at this time, this is feeling potentially, and we like to see this, that there is some sense of healing that is coming into play, even in the spaces and places that are lacking that partnership energy. Masculine right now is effectively feeling that need or that desire to drive forth right now. There's something about the position that they're in right now that feels like it is growing too difficult. It is growing a bit too frustrating. Masculine energy is potentially doing everything they can right now to put some things into play to help heal their own heart space as they're feeling some of this blockage or some of this stuckness, feeling like there's circumstances or situations that are difficult right now, but they have to effectively stay in. Masculine's trying to affect as much change as possible to move those into a healing vibration by focusing on their own stability at this time. Masculine energy will potentially be moving right now in a space or place of trying to heal some things right now. Really looking right now if there is a course of action that is available to them through which they'll be able to come into a sense of healing right now. While for feminine, this is potentially experiencing this or seeing this on the part of masculine energy at this time. even if you're not in partnership. Feminine energy, you are also going through some hurdles and difficulties right now. You are trying to see if masculine energy is either going to come towards you right now. This is either coming towards you from the past or new energy that you are now anticipating and waiting to come forward in this capacity. Feminine energy is now in a space or place where they're opening their heart space. They're focused on healing the heart space. We like seeing this so much because it doesn't mean that the heart space is closed. Feminine energy is now looking this as an exercise of healing by allowing in masculine energy that is stable and supportive. The masculine energy that is stable and supportive is effectively facilitating the feminine energy's healing at this time. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now. Fourth card for our 5-card spread for today is beautiful energy. We have here our 10 of Cups. How are we getting through some of these hurdles? How are we getting through some of these setbacks right now? Well, for the energy right now that is in partnership, this is focusing on the long-term manifestation goal. As we saw yesterday, there was some potential moment of recalibration that was needed. Potentially even some circumstances or situations that masculine energy had to experience some sense of regret or disappointment related to some activity or action that they made that may have not necessarily resulted in the consequences that you may have ultimately desired. For feminine, it was having to bear some of this weight yesterday that was also coming a challenge point. Masculine and feminine energy in partnership right now are effectively really keeping a longer point view on this. One of the things that's happening is trying to look at the larger picture, the larger perspective, the larger narrative, being able to focus on that long-term path. And for the masculine, this is more of that explaining that we saw was coming through right now in terms of potentially in partnership right now, feeling like you're doing a lot of work to try to come into a space of healing by trying to validate and explain what led you to make the choices that you are making. But one of those orientation points for the masculine right now could be mentioning or trying to state that you are doing it for the best possible reasons. Double confirmation and double affirmation on this. For feminine right now, this is also something that you may be needing to do if you're in partnership at this moment, is like allow for a little bit of leniency in terms of the intentions of the masculine versus the results that have now put you in a difficult situation, with the hope or aspiration that the future will fix this. Trying to keep that long-term manifestation goal in play to help you as you navigate forward from this point. While the masculine and feminine energy that is not in partnership or union at this time, this is going to feel like a bit more of a challenge, because we see here that feminine energy is feeling kind of stuck in some situations or circumstances here. There's still some of this energy that feminine is trying to ease themselves out of. Feminine energy, we almost saw the fact that feminine energy put themselves in this vibration. They put themselves in a difficult situation or circumstance where they weren't necessarily going to be chasing after anything right now. They're basically trying to see how people are going to come towards them, particularly masculine energy at this moment. That is because feminine energy is focused on healing with a stable masculine manifestation. They're watching the masculine energy come towards them at this time to identify not just if they're coming towards them with the degree of intentionality that they would desire, but also with the level of authenticity, which is why the feminine energy isn't taking too much action here. This is a lot of that continuation energy that we saw yesterday that is very hard for the feminine energy to maintain. But feminine energy is committing to that path to do so, because feminine is absolutely committed to the fact that the only way that they're going to be able to heal their heart space is if the masculine energy is stable. This is even pointing out that if feminine energy has past energy of masculine coming towards them right now, they're not necessarily meeting them where they're at. They're waiting to effectively see if the masculine energy is going to hold in terms of what they're offering, if they're going to show that ability of change that is effectively necessary right now. Because we do see that there is something here with the masculine energy moving with a lot of vitality, with a lot of urgency. But urgency doesn't necessarily mean stability. And that's what feminine energy is waiting to see, with this feeling that time will tell. Feminine's kind of slowing down the timeline right now as much as possible to see if this is the case. Masculine, you could be potentially recognizing this in the feminine right now. You are potentially having to take this moment that could feel a little frustrating, because while you may be feeling a lot of urgency to move towards some manifestation of feminine at this time, you're also recognizing the fact that you need to move in a space or place of healing. There's something here that needs to be healed. This is either situations or circumstances from the past masculine that you are recognizing that you are trying to take some accountability on, or this is you coming into new partnership energy masculine and recognizing the fact that the energy that you are meeting is in a place that requires healing. You are understanding that on a profound level right now, even if you were not the one that elicited the harm in the first place. You are also trying to come through as stable as possible right now. It's just very difficult because we also see that this urgency is at play. What's the masculine energy doing to fix for this? Focusing on the long-term goal, the long-term desired outcome. Final card for our first 5 before we get clarification on these cards right now is Ace of Swords in its reversal. This is very lovely because what we're really seeing here at this moment is a feeling of surrender that's leading to a greater victory. There is something here for both masculine and feminine energy that feels like it is a point of surrender. You'll recognize that for the feminine right now, the feminine in partnership, there's something here about having to take some accountability right now about where the masculine's own actions have led you at this time. That like you don't potentially necessarily feel like it's entirely in your power to correct for it. It's something that you just have to effectively deal with at this time, which is what could be feeling so effectively frustrating right now for the feminine energy that's potentially experiencing this at this moment. This is also potentially coming through as a bit of a frustration point because we see the fact that the masculine energy, while they may have experienced some sign of regret or doubt yesterday, they're really kind of doubling down to a certain extent here. They're doubling down in terms of like why they did what they did and almost giving some point of clarification by trying to explain to the feminine exactly what their intentions were in the first place in terms of doing it. This isn't necessarily making it easier for feminine right now, but it is helping them kind of build this point of orientation and thinking about like the long view, looking at things on the greater whole instead of the immediate experience that you're having at this moment. And this is feeling, again, like that moment of surrendering to the situation that you find yourself in, looking for that longer term victory in terms of like, you know, like how this is actually going to affect like the bigger picture effectively. For feminine, masculine energy, this is effectively you kind of being in that exact same vibration with feminine. If you're in partnership, you're holding firm to your guns. You're not regretting the fact. You're trying to almost come through in a space and saying that you don't necessarily regret what you did that was causing this disparity between you both right now. You're just trying to defend it. You're just trying to explain is what we're really seeing. For masculine and feminine energy that's not in partnership or union right now, this is going to feel like a lot more of a frustrating energy because as we see, masculine energy is almost being put in a vibration. The only way I can really define it right now is it's going to feel for the masculine energy not in partnership right now, like hurry up and wait. The feminine energy wants to see you have that vitality of going towards them, like with a lot of vitality, but it's also hard because like you're not necessarily seeing the feminine energy responding in kind, which is what's creating such a point of frustration for the masculine right now. But masculine's also potentially recognizing at this moment that you're seeing the fact that the feminine energy is not doing this from a state or space of trying to cause harm. They're doing it because they're healing. And you're also recognizing that recognition point is making it easier, masculine energy, to maintain or hold this position to a certain degree with that aspiration of the long-term goal. But it is difficult because it's requiring you have an immediate point of surrender for that longer-term victory. Now, feminine energy that is not in partnership, you're effectively recognizing that this is what you're doing. And it's hard for you to maintain this vibration. Feminine energy doesn't want to be in a space or place where they're not just kind of leaving themselves open to the masculine, but feminine's doing this for the sake of their own healing. So feminine, this is also feeling like a bit of a surrender at this time. But again, for the greater victory of a long-term situation or circumstance, which is going to be the result of finding a masculine energy that is not just coming back or coming towards you right now, but is showing the understanding of stability in the process. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now, we've got our Hangman here and our Knight of Wands. May I please get one card to clarify? clarification coming through right now with beautiful energy today. This is such a nice healing energy that we're seeing coming through, especially after all of that hairiness that we saw. I believe I just saw someone say a lot of masculine energy in the doghouse in the comments, and I feel like we can kind of align to that right now. But what we like to see, and especially in partnership energy right now, but what we're really seeing that I think is really important right now is the fact that this is a day of restoration. Masculine energy, we're almost seeing that some of the reason that you're moving forward in this degree and capacity right now is this feeling or this fact that you recognize some things or some circumstances that you need to heal. This is, as we said, there's something about the way that you address something. If you're in partnership, masculine, feminine wanted to take a different approach. You may have jumped the gun. I warned you not to. I warned you, can go back a few days ago. I warned you not to do that. But here it is. We see here that for some of the masculine energy, that action occurred, and now we see the masculine energy is moving in. But here's what we like. Even for the masculine energy that kind of over, maybe like looked a little before they leapt, this is a moment that they're trying to come into a point of restoration. A lot of this energy today, again, if it's not correcting, it's explaining to try to come into a state of easement. Feminine, you could be identifying this right now from the masculine energy that you're in partnership with, maybe getting a lot of apologies today. If not apologies, some explanations, or at least someone trying to fix some damage that may have occurred from them taking an approach that you may not necessarily have taken. Masculine and feminine energy right now that is not in partnership, what we're really seeing at this moment is this is that moment that does feel like it is somewhat healing. Because what we are identifying right now is the masculine energy is effectively understanding the fact that the feminine energy is trying to move. I have to point out, this is a beautiful blessing that the Venus in retrograde cycle gave the masculine energy. A better understanding of the feminine's perspective on some things. Masculine energy is effectively recognizing and understanding right now that any trepidation on the part of the feminine has to do from the fact that the feminine energy is trying to come through a point of recovery. Masculine energy is again feeling this level or degree of wanting to move very quickly towards feminine at this time. Maybe even an observation that something like that is possible in this moment. But the problem that we're seeing here is masculine energy is feeling the difficulty or degree of feeling trapped in some circumstances or scenario right now, but also wanting to move forward. In either case right now, they're trying to effectively potentially identify the easement point between these two spaces, because finding oneself in a situation or circumstance that is creating insight but you can't move away from, but also feeling the encouragement to drive forward in this way is something that may even be requiring a sense of internal healing right now for the masculine, because there's something here that you want to come through and correct, because you can almost identify now that there is a path to correcting it. For feminine energy right now, this is effectively also a moment that you are feeling some of that level of degree of being caught in circumstances or situations that, again, are difficult but are creating a lot of insight for you. You are seeing the masculine energy coming towards you at a very fast degree right now. But there's something about your own level or degree of patience at this time, holding in this position that is allowing for this sense of healing. Feminine energy is really working very hard not to necessarily move back into any tower moments that required this level of degree of healing in the first place. Masculine is effectively potentially even trying to counter to feminine right now to really articulate that that is not going to be the case, that masculine will not allow those types of situations and circumstances to happen with the feminine right now, or they're going to go ahead and do everything they can to prove to the feminine that they're not going to allow those type of things to continue. Now, for masculine and feminine energy in partnership, this is a lot of just healing. For continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Knight of Swords in combination with our King of Pentacles, in combination with our Ace of Wands, in combination with our Three of Swords. Huge energy here right now. Masculine, we see here, you are working very hard right now on stability, but also with a lot of clarification coming through, a lot of fast movement, fast action, trying to build something that feels more stable at this time. And a lot of this could be doing a lot of work right now in the tangible space that you feel is going to be healing. going to be coming from a state of healing. This is almost like shoring up something that requires some level or degree of work right now, masculine. Feminine, this is potentially you seeing this right now if you are in partnership with masculine. Now, if you are not in partnership at this moment, this is a masculine energy that's working very hard right now to see what they can do to heal circumstances or situations. It's hard though, because masculine energy, if you are in this vibration, you may be feeling kind of stuck between two different positions. Do you continue to push forward on something, or do you kind of remain firm in terms of what you've offered towards the feminine? Feminine, this is potentially you also being a state or space of healing right now, recognizing that there's a lot of energy coming towards you right now with a lot of vitality, but really kind of holding firm, trying to recognize what of that energy is actually creating stability for you, which is what you need for your own healing journey at this time. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our five of cups in its upright. This is more of that regret energy that we saw coming in the cards yesterday. This looks familiar. It's because we had it out here. We had 2 different 5 cards yesterday. A lot of transformation through conflict. This is some of that moment right now that is requiring a moment of observing where you currently are and feeling some level or degree of disappointment at this point. Masculine and feminine energy are effectively feeling this right now. For the masculine and feminine energy that are in partnership at this moment, this is more of that feeling of regret or loss that we saw that had to be addressed yesterday. Potentially masculine having to take some accountability for some of those actions that happened, or that they may have moved forward on in a way that the feminine energy wasn't necessarily in alignment with them to. For the feminine energy right now, this is effectively having to, again, feel like to a certain level or degree you're doing a little bit of cleanup work in terms of where the masculine has kind of left you both right now in terms of some of their own actions. There could be a lot of discussion about this and a lot of observation right now to the masculine to help them try to understand how the feminine is feeling. For masculine and feminine energy right now that is not in partnership, there could be a lot of that bittersweet energy coming through right now, because while we see that masculine energy is trying to move towards feminine right now with a lot of vitality, they're also trying to do it from a state or space of healing. Masculine energy is almost recognizing to a certain level or degree that there may be a little bit of disappointment that is causing or happening right now, because it's requiring the masculine energy to move at a slower pace than they would ideally desire it right now. For feminine energy, this is a moment of potentially having to tell masculine energy in some way, shape, or form that there's something here that you are effectively doing right now to heal your own heart space that may feel a little counter to their own decisions or actions at this time. For both energies, there's going to be potentially a lot of observation right now on what is and is not possible, to allow for a point of, again, what we like about this is potentially coming into a space of finding a productive path forward. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our King of Pentacles, Ace of Wands in its reversal, and our 3 of Swords in its reversal. A moment of practicality and action towards healing for masculine today in all partnership or unpartnered. Feminine right now, this is effectively looking towards a masculine around you right now to see if they're able to maintain a point of being stable. If you are in partnership at this moment right now, you're probably getting a masculine energy doing a lot of things to try to make things easier or better due to some situations or circumstances that effectively happened prior to this point that may have caused some of this issue or upset. For feminine that is not in partnership at this moment, this is effectively a moment that you're really spending right now focused on your healing and asking what masculine energy feels like it is coming through as stable and supportive. This is either energy from the past coming back and waiting to identify to see if this is the case, or new energy kind of holding again on to really see, as we saw yesterday, if they're going to show that consistency that you're seeking. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our 9 of Wands. And so this is a bit difficult because it's not that everyone's got their heart space in the best place right now. There's some wounds here. Everybody's feeling a little wounded. Why is everybody feeling a little wounded? Well, masculine's feeling a little wounded because there's clearly some situations or circumstances that they feel like they need to do some correction on right now, if in partnership. There could be a sense right now of having to take some of that accountability that's effectively rubbing against your own ego a little bit, masculine. Like even having to take that accountability right now is potentially making you feel a little defensive. For feminine right now, feminine is effectively, if in partnership, having to deal with the consequences of some of masculine's energies at this time. This is also leaving the feminine energy feeling pretty touchy today, because they're feeling a little defensive about the fact that they have to be in this modality. A little warning right now for the energies that are in partnership, in the fact that this could lead to like a bit of titchiness today, a little bit of regret or sadness coming through, because there has to be an observation on what has effectively occurred that's leaving everyone feeling much more guarded and defensive than they were before this effectively happened. For masculine and feminine energy that isn't in partnership right now, this is feeling a lot of that guarded energy to one another at this point. Feminine energy, as we see it said, it's not that feminine isn't trying to move towards that ideal long-term manifestation. They're just being really cautious as they do so. Feminine's really worried about misaligning with an energy that may not necessarily actually want the long-term manifestation goal that they themselves want. Feminine energy here has potentially been in circumstances or situations where someone gave them indication that they did want that, only for them to find out that that wasn't the case. This is why feminine energy is moving with such a degree of slowness coming out of this retrograde. They're utilizing the time to give indication about the authenticity of the offers coming towards them right now, be they the old offers of past masculine energy or the new ones. Feminine energy is just still operating in that space of supreme caution. Even as they're leaving themselves open right now to the masculine energies that are showing that level of degree of stability at this moment. It is a cautious opening. It is a cautious healing. Masculine, you are also recognizing this right now. It's making you feel a little trepidatious because you are seeing the trepidation of the feminine, and it is making you anxious as to whether the feminine is also in alignment to you at this point. These are almost becoming reflective energies right now because you're feeling that uncertainty as to whether the feminine energy is going to allow you in and accept you right now. But that's also giving you a lot of clarity on where the feminine energy is in the first place. Even this experience right now, masculine, is informing you on how it must feel for the feminine to be in those types of positions. Continuing to get clarity, love these two cards together. Absolutely love these two cards together today. Between our 10 of Cups and our Ace of Swords in its reversal, a feeling of surrender today that's leading to a higher victory, but also with a keeping one's positive mindset on the long-term plan. That long-term future. Something about today feeling like there is a bit of bittersweetness in terms of feeling that level or degree of surrender, but also recognizing that this is leading to the long-term manifestation goals. May I please have one card to clarify? Action. What we love to see about this is there's something here that means that there's decisive action that can be made even in the act of some of this release that we're seeing. Choices are being made. Opportunities are being opened up. We like this energy because this is showing that there's some level or degree of some point of surrender right now is actually what is allowing you to go forward. We've been seeing this in the cards over the last few days. Feminine energies trying to surrender themselves from any connections that they've been feeling bound in that are holding a lot of trauma, that aren't showing this possibility of coming through in this point of stability. That's why feminine energy is observing this right now, because feminine energy is still trying to go through this release process. Masculine, this is effectively kind of moving potentially into a space or place right now of feeling like you need to surrender something or let something go to be able to move into alignment in terms of your long-term manifestation goals. You yourself are taking some level or degree of action at this time in this direction, but it is leading you to that long-term point of victory, which is why it is also feeling somewhat bittersweet. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now. Clarification between our Tower card in its reversal in combination with our 5 of Cups. So, a moment right now between, for the partnered energies right now, what we're really seeing, somebody's doing some healing today in the partnerships. Masculine specifically, potentially, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. There's something here about coming into a state of healing, recognizing, trying to come into a state of easement around some situations or circumstances that have caused some difficulty, but also accepting a level of degree of accountability. which is what we really appreciate, which is almost allowing for this sense or this space of healing to come through. Masculine and feminine energy feeling this to a certain level or degree. Feminine potentially utilizing this as a point of observation to the masculine on where they effectively have been left from masculine energy, which is thus allowing the masculine energy to try to heal or at least understand the feminine's perspective at this time. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now. This is productive. A lot of this moment that does feel like there are some apologies that may be given today. There may be some observations on things that could have been done differently or better. It's all for the sake of looking at the situation as you find it, but not allowing yourself to get caught in that moment of doubt or grief or fear, but using it as an opportunity to plan to do better in the future, which is what we love to see here. So there is the potential, a lot of this frustrating talk right now could lead to very productive outcomes as it relates to how to fix things going forward. Continuing to get clarification right now between our 5 of Cups in combination with our 9 of Wands. So a moment right now of feminine and masculine energy having to feel some level or degree of uncertainty, disappointment, helping this to effectively, and this is a part of the difficulty around this because this is some difficult conversations. They're creating a sense of a degree where people are feeling somewhat guarded. There's feelings hurt here. There's wounds that are being brought up. If they're not being brought up from the actual circumstances at play, they're getting triggered. Something here around these conversations today is not just the fact that they're triggering, but it's observing how, it's almost leading to a point of observing about how this may have caused some triggers to come up to the surface today in all modalities of partnership or unpartnership, masculine or feminine. A little bit of caution today, folks, because this is really talking about the fact that there's some sensitive things happening today that is getting everyone's walls up a little bit. May I please have one card to clarify? Is it going to be you? I think it's going to be the one sticking out. Strength in its reversal. This is really hitting a tender button today. Whatever these circumstances or situations are right now, they're hitting tender buttons, particularly right now, potentially in the partnered energies, because as we see right now, there's somebody in these partnerships that feels like they need to make some level or degree of amends. Someone else that's feeling like they were almost immediately impacted from the actions of the other. And this is leading a moment right now that everyone has to be very caring and kind and gentle to each other, particularly if you are in partnership at this moment, because everybody is feeling very vulnerable and very defensive. We don't like seeing these two cards together, and there's also some sense of remorse in play. This is actually like the saving grace right now between these two cards, because these two cards can often lead to very triggering situations. For masculine and feminine energy that is not in partnership at this time, this is that moment of really, again, identifying if someone is going to be able to be given access in. Masculine has been doing everything they can over like the last few days, hence hell, like at this point it's been almost weeks, to try to show the feminine energy that they're coming from a space or place of authenticity. Feminine energy is focusing right now on manifestations of masculine that are only showing that layer or degree of stability at this moment. For feminine right now, this could potentially be feminine having to articulate to some of the energy around them at this time that they're still in a moment where they may not necessarily still feel as confident or as secure as they would ideally desire at this moment. But feminine is considering this actually something that is bringing them closer to the masculine, because it's feminine being vulnerable to the masculine to potentially admit this. I need to stress the masculine's receiving this. This isn't necessarily a feminine energy saying that a door is closed, but saying very honestly and openly where they effectively are at this time. Masculine receiving it, there's something that feels very oppositional to this, potentially very damaging, because you may take this the wrong way. You may take this as an outright rejection. So for the masculine that's feeling like this right now, there could be some feelings of regret or remorse coming through, because this level and degree of vulnerability is much harder for you to maintain. So this could be a very triggering day for the masculine due to the fact that the feminine may be giving some level or degree of articulation towards this right now. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our 9 of Wands in combination with our 2 of Swords. This is hairy energy here. I gotta stress. I want everyone to be really, 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 really careful about their actions today. Okay? The reason I'm saying that is because we've got a very defensive situation or circumstance here wherein action is taken. What happens when we operate from a space where we're feeling very defensive and actions are taken? Potentially could lead to an escalation of the circumstances that we're seeing right now of someone feeling regret or doubt in terms of what they did at this time. So recognizing this at that moment is very important to observe, because what we really see here is a moment that while there is this sense of recovery and guardedness, there's still action being taken. Everyone needs to be very cautious about this energy today, particularly as it relates to making some choices. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Knight of Pentacles in its reversal. This could be feeling right now that there's something around the masculine energy, feeling some frustration in terms of holding forward some offer at this time toward the feminine. Masculine right now could be feeling to a certain level or degree that there's something here that they're potentially trying to offer the feminine right now that's not necessarily being received at this time. And this is creating some sense or place of confusion for the masculine. And we see here that the masculine is trying to figure out what to do about it, both in and out of partnership. That could even be an apology right now for some of the masculine or feminine energy that's going through this right now, and masculine's trying to show what they can do. Feminine could almost be saying to the masculine, this could be a masculine in partnership right now being like, is there anything I can do? And the feminine's like, no, you already did it. You already did it. What else are you going to do now? So this is a lot more of that frustrating energy right now for the feminine, because it could be feeling like the masculine energy is trying to lend assistance in a way now that feels a little too late because of the way that things have kind of laid out. For masculine and feminine energy, and this is why we see some of that defensiveness. For masculine and the feminine energy, not in partnership at this moment, this is going to feel like more of a trying territory, because masculine, as I said, there has to be a warning right now for the masculine feeling like this, because there's some potential articulation that feminine's giving masculine right now in terms of where they are and what they're offering. Masculine, you may take this as too much as a point of rejection right now, but really it's just feminine kind of trying to articulate the fact that they're feeling extremely guarded. That the reason that feminine energy at this time is rejecting any offers from the masculine has far more to do with the feminine energy's own anxiety in letting someone in right now. And this is where a lot of that's operating from. The problem with the masculine energy experiencing or seeing this to a certain degree right now is there could be a misunderstanding of that. There could be a misconstruing of that and seeing that in a way that feels more like an outright rejection rather than an explanation. So that is also something that masculine and feminine energy need to be very cautious of at this time. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Three of Wands and our Strength card in its reversal. This is nice. We like to see this because this is some more of that recovery energy though, right? This is allowing a point of view, really allowing this to be a moment of casting your view forward, planning, seeing what that's going to look like, even in a moment that you're feeling somewhat vulnerable. This is taking this into a much more productive modality, even through some of the situations that feel challenging at this time. One card to clarify. This is beautiful. We love seeing this today because now we're seeing some of that productivity coming into play. This is about trying to find a path forward that is going to ease some of this grief. As we said, for some of the masculine energy right now, there could be a lot of work that you're doing right now into coming into a space of easement, trying to do or see what you can do to make things easier going forward. Even potentially having conversations with feminine right now to say, what can I do to ease this grief? What can I do to ease this burden? Because the masculine, effectively, you may even be feeling right now that you're recognizing some level or degree, if you're in partnership at this moment, that you may be the cause. Something you did may have been the cause of feminine having to deal with some stuff with right now. Masculine energy is trying to find that lightening of the load right now for the feminine, but from a space and place of saying, how can I make this easier, right? I can't do anything. Masculine is almost saying, I can't do anything to fix it, because they're like, no, you already did enough, just back off. You've already done enough, just back off. So masculine's going, okay, if I can't do anything to fix it, What can I do to make it easier? For masculine and feminine right now. And for feminine, this is effectively you trying to articulate. And you're just, feminine's in a space right now. Feminine's just trying to let it go. Feminine's just trying to be like, emotionally letting whatever this is go and trying to focus on the future, recognizing to a certain extent that, like, you know, there's almost like something here feels like it's been done and can't be undone, right? Masculine and feminine right now that is not in partnership at this moment, this is a bit more difficult because this is that moment that is really challenging this feeling in terms of having to identify if there's something around some circumstances or situations that have some kind of long-term potential to them. Today, potentially be trying to orient and actually identify, like, is there something here that effectively has a productive future? For feminine, where do we see feminine? We've been seeing feminine who's been trying to do this in the same exact place ever since Venus went direct. Feminine's trying to shed the grief of the past. Feminine energy is trying to let go of the trauma in the past, right? Hangman energy. They're still caught in some of this energy that they're working so hard to release right now. It is very difficult because to do so requires them to be vulnerable. And feminine's also recognizing that the only way to effectively release some of this energy is to be vulnerable to masculine energy again. Either the past masculine energy that's coming forward from a state of trying to prove that they've come through in more stability, or new masculine energy that is showing this ability or degree to build stability at this time. Feminine energy is trying to work really hard to come into this vibration by releasing, but that release process doesn't necessarily always look like a lot of activity on the side of the outside energy. Masculine, this is that moment that you're trying to ask yourself if there's something here that you should continue to hold on to, or if this is something that you should let go on. Masculine here, this is also making you feel very vulnerable as you try to determine which of these factors you're falling into right now. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Strength card in its reversal in combination with our Nine of Pentacles. This is what in its reversal. As I said, masculine energy, feeling the uncertainty, not in the fact that you're not trying to offer something to feminine right now, but the anxiety about whether it's going to effectively be accepted or not from the feminine energy. To a certain level or degree, like a point that's creating a lot of vulnerability in the masculine today. Feminine, likewise, there's something here that is also requiring you to be very vulnerable, but that's because you're not just immediately moving into accepting the masculine energy's offers. This is, again, that lesson from the Venus in retrograde cycle. Feminine energies trying to slow things down to determine if those offers are legitimate or not. May I please have one card to clarify? Transverse. What is this transverse card? Our combination to our King of Pentacles here, our Queen of Pentacles. Feminine energy is trying to focus on what is going to make them feel stable. The problem is feminine energy isn't exactly sure what that is. Feminine energy is working on their own stability. They're only allowing in masculine energy that makes them feel stable to a certain degree. In masculine energy that makes them feel stable to a certain degree. Feminine energy, not in partnership right now, is trying to identify what is going to make them feel stable to come into partnership potentially with masculine energy. Because while there is something about what masculine energy is offering right now that feminine is pushing back on because they don't feel that level of degree of security to open up right now, feminine, we keep seeing this, is almost questioning to themselves right now, what would masculine energy have to offer them that would allow the feminine to feel stable? This is why feminine's trying to release this grief, because feminine's almost recognizing that until they release this grief, it's almost going to feel practically impossible to be able to move into partnership because the grief is effectively the blocker. Masculine energy right now, this is feeling the frustration towards the feminine. If you're not in partnership right now, this is that moment where you're like wanting to come in towards the feminine energy, but you're not sure if like the feminine energy is going to create that point of stability for you right now, because something about this situation with feminine is feeling like it is unstable, because the feminine energy is leaving you hanging to a certain degree. And it's very, very frustrating, and it's making you feel very vulnerable because you don't know where the feminine energy is on some things. Now, for the masculine and feminine energy that are in partnership at this moment, this is masculine recognizing that something that they may have done caused the feminine energy to be in this point of feeling this level or degree of disease. This dis-ease that we're seeing that the feminine is experiencing right now potentially could be an immediate result of something that the masculine did or did not do. The feminine energy is now experiencing the repercussions of, and it's putting them in a very vulnerable place at this time. Masculine, for their part, isn't also feeling frustrating, because I feel like masculine's trying to give some way or degree of lending support at this moment, and feminine energy saying there's nothing you can do to support me in this right now. The thing that you effectively could have done to support me was never to have done it at all. That's effectively potentially what some of the feminine energy is saying right now to the masculine. So this could be a lot of moments right now that I'm seeing, again, even in partnership. There may be a little bit of that stickiness right now that is coming into play. So be very careful in terms of how you're communicating right now, and especially the choices that you're making, especially the masculines, again, not doing any more choices out of a space or place of being triggered. For feminine, this is feeling some of that frustration today. Final card for today's spread between our Queen of Pentacles in its transverse and our Six of Swords in its reversal. Trying to come into a space, feminine energy is realizing the only way she's going to feel stable is if she lets go of this grief and this trauma. This is hard because feminine's holding a lot of this right now. Feminine's been holding a lot of this grief and trauma from the past right now. Feminine energy is still trying to release it. Feminine energy is feeling the distortion of not being able to release it, but actively trying so that they can come into a state or space of better stability. For the masculine and feminine energy right now that's going through this in partnership, this could be feminine energy just trying to let go of some of the situations or circumstances that may have occurred over the last 48 hours or so from masculine, that they're now in a state or space of having to experience the consequences of. For the masculine energy right now, this is potentially that doghouse energy that we're potentially seeing that you may be feeling right now in partnership, feeling like you have to amend for something from a feminine that's kind of keeping you at a bit of a distance right now because they're trying to let it go too. For masculine and feminine energy not in partnership at this moment, this is going to feel like more of a challenge, because what we're seeing here is, again, feminine's trying to release this trauma, masculine is trying to help release this trauma with feminine, but it's very hard because the feminine energy is not giving them very many access points to be able to. May I please have the final card in our spread? Final card for today is, it's better than yesterday's Eight of Wands in its reversal, guys, but this is still going to feel like a lot of withholding today. Nobody's moving with a lot of rapidity. Masculine energy is even feeling somewhat triggered right now. And it's requiring this moment that everyone is effectively withholding. But more importantly, though, this is really kind of trying to articulate upon what is of most value to them at this moment. Masculine and feminine. For feminine, even in partnership right now, there might not be a lot of communication with masculine right now, because a lot of this is just trying to build a little sense of stability for yourself at this moment. Masculine that's in partnership right now, this could be feeling like you're going into withholding because you're recognizing that you're trying to help a feminine that's trying to release some grief around what you've done or what you've done that's brought them to a certain extent of a place today. And so you're kind of feeling like you don't want to do anything that's going to make anything worse. For the feminine and masculine energy right now, not in partnership, this is not necessarily potentially seeing a lot of activity in these areas right now, but really just trying to find some security and stability in the midst of what you're potentially going through right now. There is this moment of trying to identify and see what can be salvaged here, potentially in these relationships or these circumstances. Even if, I'm seeing here, even in the circumstances or situations that effectively have too much grief or difficulty to allow for the feminine to open to them right now, this is that moment of potentially for feminine trying to identify what can be salvaged in these partnerships. And for masculine, this is leading you potentially to feeling like a moment of withdrawal, of anxiety, of fear, not necessarily giving forth to the feminine, but because of all of that trepidation as to whether the feminine energy is actually opening to you right now, or if you're worried or scared that this might be some kind of latent rejection. Bottom of the deck on today's reading is the Empress. This isn't surprising to see right now, particularly given the fact that one of the things that we're identifying right now is even in partnership at this moment, there's potentially something that is being faced or dealt with right now for the feminine that feels like it's potentially an immediate result of something the masculine did that feminine wouldn't have done in the same way. For that reason, feminine energy, this is where we want to avoid the feminine energy internalizing this to a certain extent. Because what could potentially be happening right now is feminine is working really hard not to take it personally right now. But there's something here that the feminine is observing, is making it harder for them to feel like they're being seen, appreciated, or valued. This could even be feeling like, to a certain extent, the feminine energy is experiencing the blowback of consequences of masculine's energies that are potentially painting them in this light or in this fashion. While for masculine and for masculine energy, even in partnership right now, you could be realizing that this is a bit more of that doghouse energy that we're seeing, that the feminine energy is not feeling very open or up for being very close to you right now because of some of these circumstances or situations. While for the masculine and feminine energy that is not in partnership right now, this is the feminine energy experiencing a lot of this anxiety in terms of opening their heart space. We are seeing here that the feminine energy right now is either, again, trying to deal with some more of this trauma and these wounds from the past. When the feminine energy is actively trying to release this trauma and wounds from the past, it doesn't really put them in the most amorous place because it's making them effectively have to confront the fact that love has hurt them. So how can a feminine energy come into a space of feeling very loving when they're really literally trying to address the fact that love has effectively hurt them? This is either situations from the past right now, masculine's trying to heal, or even masculine energy finding feminine energy already in this vibration. For feminine energy feeling this, returning to a love of the self today is going to be key. Keeping that in mind, which is why potentially we see some of this Four of Pentacles. For masculine, being able to do everything you can to help the feminine energy recognize that they're in spaces and places that they can be their most vulnerable, full expression of self, even if hearing what the feminine energy has to say from those places is difficult and painful, is also going to be a way to help facilitate this healing. That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you guys so much for being here and experiencing it with me. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, you can book one on my website, graystrega.com. My private readings are done over video with the option of a recording sent to you afterwards. And if you are a subscriber to my TikTok, you can take 10% off any of my services when you pay. Just mention your subscriber ID at the point of payment. Please keep in mind, if you book a private reading with me, it is a two-step process. You have to book the reading and you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you would like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never PM you. I will never inbox you. I will never slide into your DMs and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my website. So I encourage you to do it there. I want to thank you guys so much for being here with me today and sharing with me in these readings. And we will do this again tomorrow.